All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Heck, Goose, and Tom. Holy Q Smokehouse. In this episode, we have special guest Tom Peters. We cover topics that range from the food industry, major culinary influences, barbecue, menus, COVID-19, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Julia Child and Tom Smothers. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Tom. Thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, man, so let's jump right into it. So for those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Yeah. I'm Tom Peters, pitmaster and owner of Holy Q Smokehouse in Lahaska, Pennsylvania. Been doing this on and off for about 6 years, but started out as a pop-up that we did in New Hope when I moved to the area from Jersey City. And out the gate, it just took off. So within 7 weeks of doing the pop-up, I ended up finding the brick and mortar, which is like right before COVID hit. And that's it. Here I am, man.
That's crazy. So this was something you always had like a niche for, or was it just something you randomly picked up 5 years ago? Or were you just the guy that everyone wanted to go to your barbecue because you knew you were gonna, have it jumping? It
was, my background's been restaurants. I mean, I'm born and raised in the business. 12 years old, I was in the kitchen.
Nice.
I actually worked on one of the first food trucks in New Brunswick, New Jersey, over at Rutgers.
Okay.
It was one of the first ever. So I was serving coffees at again, 12 years old. So that's my culinary experience, is like working, through family restaurants, having my own. I had my first bar when I was 24 years old in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Wow.
It was a restaurant lounge, like a supper club type of place. That was condemned for the Coyotes ice hockey team. So when that happened, at a young age, that could scar you, losing that kind of money. So I went into real estate for 22 years. But like the last 7 years of my career in real estate, I was miserable. So, life happens, life events happen. And I went to Texas with the last company I was with. And, long story short, I walked into a restaurant. I was like, what's that smell? They're like, that's Texas barbecue. And I just had gone to a seminar at the convention, and it was pretty much about like, what are you going to do with your future life? What's your end game? And when I smelt that food, I'm like, this is it, man. I always wanted to get back into restaurants. I didn't know to what aspect. I didn't want a fancy bar. I didn't want a fancy restaurant. I wanted something simple that I loved. So that was the spark. And it took a solid 6 years between, research and development, having tastings at my house, learning the craft. I burned a lot of briskets, dude. It's pretty bad barbecue.
No, for sure.
But that's how you learn. And my first time really putting it out there for sale was in New Hope. So when I saw the demand, I was petrified. I made a full brisket. I'll never forget it. Pulled pork, mac and cheese, and cider slaw. It was a $147 investment that I needed to work. I was in a bad spot back then.
Yeah.
And when it took off, I sold out in like 20 minutes. I'm like, that's it. It's going to work.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So for the folks that don't understand fully the business per se with barbecue, can you explain what Central Texas barbecue means? What's the difference?
Barbecue is a regional thing. Coming from here, I didn't know what barbecue was until 6 years ago.
Yeah.
When you hear barbecue here, you think wings, ribs, sloppy, a lot of sauces. I had no idea what brisket was. I thought brisket was corned beef.
Yeah.
So when you look at different regions like the Carolinas, Memphis, Kansas City, that's really a saucier type of barbecue. It's vinegar based. When you go out to Texas, it's more rubs. The focus is primarily on the smoke and the dry rub, and mainly it's just salt and pepper. Like, I can't tell you how many people ask what I put in my, in my meats, and they were like, "There's got to be more." I'm like, "No, salt and pepper," and they don't believe it because there's a distinct flavor when you focus on just smoke and thyme and very minimal seasoning. Yeah. So it's a game changer for us out here.
Yeah, no, for sure. So then how did you know you actually had something? So at what point was it when you had people come into your house sampling? I'm sure you're probably like tweaking, the recipe here and there or whatever, however you're cooking it. What was there like a defining moment?
It was the whole process was defining. I think
Nice.
what I did in the last 6 years set me up for this. Like stresses, the bad things, the pivots. Like this whole thing originally was a food truck that went to meal delivery, that went to a pop-up to now a barbecue restaurant. So like everything I learned from the business side of my career with real estate and everything else, like applied to this. I had some great mentors that I worked with. And, again, when COVID hit, when the world was like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm like, I got this. This is my time to shine now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I knew things were going to get cheap. I knew I could find a great property. Minimal negotiation. Fast casual always does good in times of crisis. People want to eat for cheap. And that's it. It took off, man. So there wasn't really one defining moment. It was just, I'd say, different levels of the pivot. I didn't stop. I just, people get so dead set in like, this is my goal. This is how I'm going to get there, and that's it.
Yeah.
So when they fail, they stop. They don't adapt. They don't switch. They don't move around. They don't try and find different ways. Like you can have the same end goal, but how you get there can change 1,000 different ways. And that was it.
I love it. Yeah, man, we talk about this all the time, is utilizing your life experience as a stepping stone to get you to the next level. Unfortunately, a lot of people endure the pain that life, provides us and don't utilize those experiences to better themselves. But you come across every once in a while, or luckily now more often than not, people utilizing those in a very intelligent, strategic way, like yourself, to amplify your results or to actually make your dreams a reality and stop talking about it. The other thing we come across a lot is a lot of people talk, and it's nice to dream build. And we enjoy that. But at one point, action has to be taken. And I'm sure throughout that 6-year process, as you mentioned, you also build belief in yourself and your ability, what you can do, and what you can bring to the table. It's a fascinating story. So explain how the whole brick and mortar, did you just see a random building? Were you just looking at things? I know your background is you have some real estate background, obviously, 20 plus years.
That helped a lot because I focused on commercial real estate. So I knew how to negotiate leases and what to look for and who to contact. And we had a couple places that fell through in the mix. And when the last place was inside Peddler's Village, the rules and regulations were too strong and all this stuff. I ended up bailing on that. And I took a drive. I'm like, I really like this area. Like it really resonated with me. So I literally turned the corner and saw a different realtor sign. So I called him. I said, what do you have? He's like, well, actually, where you're standing, the place to the right is for rent. And that was it. It fell in my lap. I really believe that, like, if you don't stop, if you focus on the right things, it comes to you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, when you let go of all the garbage, when you let go of all the negativity, when you let go of all the things that don't honor you and just focus on what you want to do, the world opens up to you. And it's living proof, I'm telling you.
That's amazing. So you mentioned you had mentors or coaches or maybe people you looked up to for advice. What were they in the culinary industry or food industry, or were they just in general mindset
all
success?
over the map?
Okay.
All over, from Texas barbecue pitmasters to fine dining chefs to business coaches in real estate. Like I utilized everyone. I think when I hit my 40s, I realized I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. And I said, I need to start learning from people who are doing it and who are better than me. And that's really how you learn, man. Like if you're the smartest guy in the room, you got to leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these people really helped me and guided me and gave me, and I was good at having an honest conversation. Like I didn't care if you told me I sucked. I didn't care if you told me I was doing something wrong. Like I wanted to hear those things. So like it helped me stay straight and focused and, on the up and up. which I'm completely blessed for with having those people in my life.
Yeah, I mean, having that mentality or even that realization, but is one thing. But being humble enough to take that constructive criticism, if you will, or even just a conversation.
Yeah.
To me, that person actually loves you more than someone who's just going to feed you information that you want to hear and tell you how great you are. It's like, dude, I need to improve. Clearly, I need to improve. Help. And so, there's a weird line of when you're talking to people that becomes people boasting you versus flattery, versus someone who's truly trying to help you win. And the teacher can always see the student, right?
Yep.
I'm sure you have younger folks in your life that you could tell when the hungry kid's around mentally and wants to be successful versus the kid who's just doesn't really have it or wants it just at that moment. It's very visible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there something? Do you read books? Do you watch videos? What do you do for motivation?
I read a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a big Jocko Willink fan.
Nice.
I actually saw them speak, him and Leaf Babin, out in Texas when they did
Extreme
Ownership. Yep.
That's awesome.
So, Extreme Ownership's great. I love John Maxwell. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes, sir.
John Maxwell is just a really solid guy. And I love his principles and how he gets his word out. He's easy to listen to and easy to read. I was blessed with when I worked for Keller Williams. In my role as running offices for them, I was exposed to a lot of people and a lot of events where I sat with the owner of Legal Seafood. I sat with the guy who was running the Boston Marathon during the bombing. Wow. So that was like leadership in crisis. Met the owners of Chick-fil-A. Like the owners of Chick-fil-A shined our shoes. I mean,
wow,
dude, when you're around people like that, you learn. You really, really see what truly successful people do. It's not about kind of plane you have. That's why I laugh at some of these Instagram dudes like Grants, Cardones, and all these guys, man. It's all a show, dude.
Yeah.
I want to see a guy who lost it and built it back up again. That's the guy I'm going to respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's those kind of guys that you can learn from. Not, dude, there's no such thing as fast money, man. I've been down that road. No such thing as fast money. Got to put work in. Got to put the work in. Got to sweat. You got to lose big time. So appreciate, how humble I am now is not because of what I learned. It's like I messed up a lot in my life.
Yeah.
I've experienced loss. I've experienced bad health. All that stuff. And that's what makes you a better person.
Absolutely.
So
let's switch gears a little bit and go back to your craft, right?
Yes,
I love asking about what folks have in their toolbox, so to speak. So what are your quote main tools to make the best possible product that you put out there? Is there specific things, must-haves
preparation
for you?
Preparation. I don't do anything halfway.
Nice.
I don't skip. There's no shortcuts in barbecue.
Yeah.
No gadgets. You learn that as time goes on. It's all about time. It's all about patience. Making sure the meats are properly trimmed, properly seasoned, and on the right side of the racks. I mean, I just honestly, I'm like Rain Man when it comes to this stuff. Like when I get in my zone, I write everything down. Like every cook that I do is written down. What the weather is outside. Was it raining out? Was it cold out? How much wood did I put in? How fast did it cook? Like you'll see patterns if you write the stuff down. So it's just sticking to that. And that helps with the consistency of the food. Like you're not going to say like, I came to Holy Q one day and it was great, and then the next day it sucked. It doesn't happen. I refuse to let it happen that way.
I think it's interesting that right before we switch gears on topics, you mentioned the lies and the facade about making fast money, and then you instantly started talking about your craft, and the parallel was it takes time. Everything in barbecue takes time.
Yeah.
Preparation. The parallels to life was just wow. It just blew me away.
It's crazy, dude. It really is. I mean, and I think that mind frame gave me the patience. I'm not a patient person at all.
Yeah.
Still not.
Yeah.
I know when to stay grounded and not get grandiose and not get mad about this. It is what it is. Like, if the meat's done at 8 a.m, great. If it's done at 10, even better. It's got to get done. You know, the meats that we cook are very resilient. You know, it's hard to mess up if you do it right. You know, but people get so caught up.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know?
It's definitely an art, right?
Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still learning to this day.
It's amazing that you write down everything, including the weather. That's fascinating, and that says a lot about obviously you're not your personality, but your business. You know, when you go to a place where the owner is taking that much care of his entire process, not just the cooking process. It's just a little bit of everything. I'm excited to visit you guys.
Look forward to having you.
How did you come up? Two things.
Yeah.
The name Holy Q Smokehouse and the logo. Explain both, how they came about.
Holy Q was, you know, again, I read a lot, and when I wanted to name it, I went through a phase where I couldn't get comfortable with the name, and I kept seeing a pattern of play on words. We looked at Holy Smoke, we looked at Holy Q, or Holy Cow, all taken. And then I'm like, oh, Holy Q, I could stick. And then I came up with the HQ logo, and it just resonated. So being that we're Texas style, you know, you don't put a pig, because Texas is all about the beef. So we got the steer head put on there. And I think it's important that when you look at the logo, it says established 2020.
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows 2020 was 1 year. You know what I mean? Like, so if we can get through this, dude, you know, they're going to remember that number. So, and then red, the color red is, you know, it's creates hunger.
I love that. So explain that experience, right? I mean, 2020, you opened doors in the middle of an unknown worldwide pandemic. I mean, what was that experience like?
It was wild. I mean, it was hard to not get stressed.
Yeah.
But again, I saw the opportunity, and literally the day that I got the lease, I'm watching the news and looking at the lease on the computer, and the president's talking about this quarantine. I'm like, I can't sign this right now.
Oh man.
So I didn't sign the lease. So I prayed up, man. I was like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And
absolutely.
We held off until June, and you know, things started to open up. I knew deep down from being in real estate that there's no one really looking at properties right now. So I was able to, like, you know, put the brakes on a little bit and just, you know, stay as comfortable. And I really didn't stop the process. I just didn't sign the lease. I had everything lined up in that downtime, from the equipment I was going to use to signage to you name it. It was all done. So when we got into that property, we were open in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Like,
wow. So buy-in from, I guess, a staff. I mean, you have like a handful of folks working for you. How did that process come about? Or did you post it anywhere? Or was it just friends and family?
I knew my original cook from my last place that I worked at. I posted online, and you know, there's been some turnover, like everything else. I mean,
of course,
you know, the restaurant industry as a whole is broken right now, and it's tough. It's tough, man. Like, you know, people see, you know, the summer and vacations and free money and all this stuff, and it's hard. Like,
yeah,
I think at one point I had 22 interviews, not one showed up. Not one showed up. Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's a very different pool of workers than we had 2 years ago or a year ago, maybe.
Yep.
The mindset changed. There's definitely a bunch of paradigm shifts that are occurring, whether they're good or bad. I do like the fact that you take ownership of the 2020, because everyone's definitely going to remember that. Like, dang, this dude made it through 2020. Yeah. He established himself when a lot of people failed themselves, right?
We broke even from day one.
Wow.
And I was floored. I'm like, wow, I'm happy with that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit about your setup. How does I know the strategies that there's a limited supply first every day, so we're not killing yourself there. So how did that work out? What was the thinking there? It's just I think it's cool, right? With the signs, it's like unless we sell out or sold out. It's like, this is awesome.
But that's barbecue, man. That's barbecue. Like when you go to Texas, places sell out. If you're going to a place that serves a barbecue at 9 o'clock, it's not fresh barbecue. Probably not good barbecue, and that's not me. So I'm a purist when it comes to that. Like, I don't mess around with what I learned. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I didn't create the stuff. I'm just following the concept because it works in Texas. I mean, there are places out there that open 1 day a week. And in that 1 day, they'll sell 10,000 pounds of meat in 1 day.
Wow.
Do that math, dude. That's a lot of barbecue.
Yeah.
So when I opened up, I just, it was really a crapshoot in the beginning. I started small and just kept building. And again, with that, I tracked, what do I cook on a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever day we open? And then just keep raising it. I mean, listen, out of all those times, I'd say less than a handful where I had leftover meat, and we closed at 6. Yeah.
Wow.
And what did I do with it? Brought some to the police station. Brought some to the fire department. I brought some to other service industry guys, grocery store clerks. Like, this is again during COVID, so like, it was cool giving people food who I knew that were like busting their hump.
Yeah.
During a tough time, and they were happy. So I didn't care about the money from that standpoint. I just knew that the food didn't go to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really a guessing game.
It's incredible, man. I love the setup. I love how you have it. So explain to folks who want to visit you guys, what can they expect and see on the menu?
They can expect, if they come in early, they'll see everything that we have. It's simple. I don't have a big menu. It's the classics. I got brisket, pulled pork, ribs, brats, and my signature, it's called a Texas Joe. It's a shredded brisket with our homemade sloppy Joe sauce and smoked turkey. That's it. That's all I do. I don't do any kind of crafty barbecues or whatever. I'm trying to get beef ribs, but right now beef ribs it's not efficient. I would have to charge $60 for one rib.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. That's the going rate right now.
That's wild.
So my sides, again, all classic sides: mac and cheese, coleslaw, baked beans, cream corn, honey cornbread, and we do our pickled onions on the side that everyone gets. And we only have one sauce. That's it. I'm not trying to get into like doing different sauces because it's not Texas barbecue, but I offer it, as a freebie. It's a bourbon brown sugar sauce that we make, and everything's made daily. So you're always getting fresh everything. And again, it's simple, but what I love about it, it's such a small menu. Everything is going to be good. Do you know what I mean? Not like, well, I had this one day and it was good, but this one was bad. It's all going to be consistent. So, definitely get there early. Weekends especially, we've been selling out in about 2 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm making more every week, and we just keep selling out. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep.
Explain. I saw that the outside setup looked crazy cool.
Yeah.
You just have like this like welcoming style of it's like you want to go there to hang out and not only support small business, but it's a place you want to actually go.
Yeah, my vision doing this, again, from going to different barbecue places, the first thing you think of is like, wow, I feel like I'm home.
Exactly.
You know, there are places I've been to that have dirt floors in
Yeah.
like a barn, but when you walk
Wow.
in, it's like, you know, red and white checkered tablecloths, exposed beams, a lot of like rustic stuff and barrels. Like you feel like you're at a barbecue. And I'll tell you, there's no other food on the face of this earth that brings people together more than barbecue. So that's what that was my vision. So when I saw the backyard here, I'm like, this is a layup. Like people who were here before didn't even utilize the backyard. They had like 3 tables, and I popped in 10 to 8 top tables.
Yeah. So to go on the location and the setup, just right what you just said, where the folks prior to you didn't utilize the space, right? So taking complete advantage of your resources and those things and people around you in a positive way. We talk about people saying, oh, I didn't have the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know. Did you not, or did you not look hard enough? Did you really tap into things that are around you? People do want to help you, and stop thinking, you know, that the world's against you all the time. I just think it's amazing that you found this spot. You knew exactly, first of all, what you wanted, how you wanted to run that bad boy, but what you used up was what was provided. I mean, I don't want to like overpass that like you didn't just say anything. No. That is a huge. How many tables you said you popped up?
10, 8 top tables.
Seriously.
80 people. Yep.
80 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game changer.
And that was you know, socially distanced too. I could easily put like 5 more tables in there.
Wow.
Now. So that was a big selling point in the winter. Like people sat outside November, December, cold. Fire pits were going, heat lamps were going. You know, we made it happen. There was no indoor dining, so it was good. It was a good look.
Yeah, no, for sure. So moving forward, we're within the next year. Nothing crazy. Nothing 20 years from now. Just within the next year, I'm sure you learned a lot, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the things you would like to see within the next year? This time next summer.
What I like to see, business wise, or what? Like in what way?
Yeah, business wise.
I just dropped off Wednesday, so now we're only open 4 days a week.
Yeah,
I did that purposely to try and like build those days up. Wednesday was always a hit and miss day, and I opened up a market right next door, which just opened today. So I could actually use the kitchen on Mondays and Wednesdays to cook the grab and go meals for the market. So what I'd like to see is the next year, my food truck that I want to put at the other side of the parking lot, facing Peddler's Village. My new smoker is going to be here this week. I bought a 500-gallon offset smoker on a trailer. Yeah. No, holy Q.
Holy Q.
I'm joking. So I wanted to see my catering side pick up. You know, doing events like concerts and, you know, weddings, all that stuff. So I like to build a division with that, hire someone to take care of the catering. What else do I want to see? I want to see my employees happy, man.
Yeah.
You know, that it means a lot to me. I'm tough to work for. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a jerk. Like I don't, you know, I don't belittle people, but I'm very direct. And, you know, the younger generation isn't used to that.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in a kitchen where chefs threw things at you to hurt you. Like that's how I grew up. And I always said I'm not going to be that guy. Yeah. But I just want to see my staff happy and doing what they want to do in life. You know.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit about the market, because I wasn't aware of that. So what's the market? And it's literally right next to the
right next door. It's in the same shopping area that we're taking over. It was empty for quite some time. We had first right to it, and we decided to jump on it. You know, like I was like, do I want to do this now? I've got a lot going on, and I'm like, well, how hard could it be? It's a market, you know. There's a big demand in this area. Like if I want to go food shopping, I have to drive 7 miles that way to Giant, or 8 miles to Giant, or Wawa's. There's nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
So like if I have to like go out and like get some Advil or a pack of cigarettes or milk or half and half, gotta get in my car. So I was good at seeing demand in that. And literally people came in today were like, finally someone did it. Like all of Pepper's Village, there's not one place to get a bottle of soda. If you don't feel good, allergies, not one place to get a packet of Benadryl. So I call it like Wawa's meets Whole Foods. Really good quality stuff, a little grocery area, and then all the basic convenience stores that they see. It's called
That's
HQ
awesome.
Market. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and here it is again. I mean, you find a niche, you see the need for it, and then you fulfill that void, whatever it is. And sometimes, again, that could have been someone thinking about that for years. My gosh, it'd be clutch here, a market, but never capitalized on their own ideas or believed in that idea. Where here you are, you instantly saw, yeah, guys, there's clearly a need here. Let's just go with it. It's amazing, and again, it's you gotta have to take that action. I mean, we can talk about it all we want. You know what I mean? And sit at the dinner table and say, hey, man, you know how cool it would be if we had a market? Very different than, let's sign the paperwork or, let's make it a meeting. Let's have a discussion, a serious discussion about this. See what we can do. All right. So when you were growing up at 12, you're already introduced to the food industry. Was there anyone, like, on TV, I'm speaking, did you look up to, or was there a particular show that you got a kind of kick out of that you like to watch and maybe found some level of inspiration, or was it just that wasn't really your thing?
No, it wasn't my thing, man. When you work for family, it's different, man.
Yeah.
And I worked as a back waiter at one of like the fanciest restaurants in the tri-state area. It was called La Fontana in New Brunswick. Okay. I hustled at a young age. I had like 3 jobs: pizzeria, back waiter, and like worked in the clothes store as a stock boy. I grew up in a family where, hey, Dad, I want to buy this, these turntables. All right, great, get a job.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So I got a job, and I'm fortunate that I learned what a work ethic is. You know what I mean? But the problem is my dad was, he was a blue collar guy, God rest his soul. But I learned how to work, but I wasn't business savvy. So that came through mentors that I worked for, like the clothing store, like the owner, Mr. Brown was, he was like a mentor to me, and as I got older, I was attracted to people like that, who I learned from.
Yeah.
And, the restaurants were always a thing. It wasn't really what I wanted to do until I hit my mid-20s, moved to Hoboken, my first apartment at like, 20 years old. I'm like, I want to open a club. Like, I don't know. I bartended, but like, I was that crazy, so 24 years old, I went to Barnes & Noble. How do I do a business plan? Made a business plan. Then I went to the SBA. How do I get an SBA? Like, this is how crazy I was. You couldn't tell me I couldn't do something at that age.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me. So like I walked into the SBA office. Hey, here's a business plan. How much money do you have? Got 10 grand, whatever it was.
Yeah.
24 years old, bar in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was insane. Like it just progressed.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fascinating as hell too, because you were able to capture, well, first of all, you had the guts to do it is one thing, but you learned so much. You're absorbed. You're ready for the next level, so to speak. You're hungry for it, right?
I was crazy. I wasn't hungry. I was crazy. I was a crazy 24. I wasn't smart. I was as dumb as the day was long. Like I didn't know about food costs. I didn't know about any of that stuff. Yeah. I wanted to be the pimp who had a bar, whatever. But failing at that was good. I learned.
Yeah.
So
what made that in your eyes? What made that a failure? Why did that fail? Do you think
it was condemned for the Coyotes ice hockey team?
Oh yeah, that's right. You did say that earlier. That's right.
How crazy is that? So it was a good loss, put it that way. I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
What is there anything you would have done there different other than not doing that? But is there anything you would have done differently if you look back on that situation?
If I knew back then what I know now,
yes,
I would have kept it simple.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have had this grandiose, 4,000 square foot restaurant and lounge. I would have opened a burger joint up that sold beer and bourbon. That's it. It's wild. You don't need to do big, crazy things to make a lot of money or succeed. Keep it very simple.
So in saying that, we have a few little entrepreneurs listening that possibly could want to step into the food industry or just become a business owner in general. What's your recommendation? They can be anywhere. Literally, we have listeners from 16 to, without exaggeration, 82. I don't know where the 82 came from, but we have a very wide range. But that young buck, what would you say to him?
Young bucks these days?
Yeah.
I got a lot to say. I work with them now, and I tell you, these kids think they know it all.
Yeah.
They do, and it's sad in a lot of ways. They think they could do it better than anyone. But they haven't put the time in or the work to even understand how to start a business.
Yeah.
They want this. Here. Take it. That's not the way it is, man. They need to build a work ethic. And they have to understand that they're not the smartest guy out there, and there's someone out there doing it better than them.
Yeah. And
just be a student. The young ones. Because good things take time. Period. Well, if your family's, the Rockefellers or whatever, God bless you.
Yeah.
You fail all you want. But for the average guy who wants to be an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to work. Like, dude, at 40, how old was I? 46 years old. When I was trying to get out of real estate, I worked for a crap real estate company, lost my shirt. When I tell you lost my shirt, I was trying to get this off the ground. I was bartending at night. I was driving an Uber right afterwards when I closed the shift, bringing the drunks home, and then waking up at 5 a.m. to do my airport runs, to bring the guys to the airport, just to make enough money to do a pop-up.
Wow.
And then pay my rent. Go grocery shopping. Build a website. Like, bro, when I tell you worked, like, it was nonstop. I wasn't out in the beach in the summertime. I wasn't just sitting back waiting for it to come to me. I went after it. So, like I said, when COVID hit, I was ready, dude. I was primed and ready to go because I knew, I knew how to have that hustle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that young guys, man, just work. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're not perfect. Just keep learning from people who are doing it better than you.
Perfect, man. Yeah. Work hard, stay humble, right?
That's it, dude.
So what's the best way folks can reach you? Is it your Instagram? Is there a website, email, visiting you, obviously?
Yeah, dude, they can always come. I'm an open book. I'll show you my smoker. I'll give you recipes, and I'll sit back and watch you do it. Have fun,
That's awesome.
Holy Q Smokes is the Instagram, probably the best way. Email is on the website, holyq.com. It's pretty easy.
Awesome. So do you have any parting words before we close the night?
No, man. Just I really appreciate the opportunity. I love what you guys are putting out there, and if you ever want to come out and try some food, you just give me a heads up. Love to sit down with you and break bread.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate it. It's good people, so we're definitely going to make that happen.
Awesome.
Pay you a visit, maybe multiple visits.
I'm hungry.
Absolutely. All right, so we like to close out with quotes, and the first one is by Julia Child. The only time to eat diet food is while you're waiting for the steak to cook. And the second one is Tom Smothers. Red meat is not bad for you. Now, blue-green meat, that's bad for you. All right. Holy Q Smokehouse. In this episode, we have special guest Tom Peters. We cover topics that range from food industry, major culinary influences, barbecue menus, COVID-19, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Julia Child and Tom Smothers.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.